Good morning everyone, hope you're doing okay this morning. I'm going to do something a little bit different this morning. I want you just to listen to a little excerpt.
You need to change your entire mental framework of who you are. And I think it's something maybe a lot of folks have discovered in COVID. You can't be in love with your old life. You can't say that the patterns that I found pleasure in, that have dominated the way that I behaved in my culture for the last however many years, you have to say to yourself, okay, that has stopped, and now we're doing something different, and we need to see ourselves fundamentally differently. Otherwise, there's no way you're going to stay psychologically healthy.
That's really interesting, isn't it? That's a good bit of preaching. You can't be in love with your old life. The patterns and the pleasures that have dominated your old life, you've got to say that stopped. I'm somebody new. You've got to see yourself fundamentally differently. That's good preaching. But that wasn't a preacher. In fact, he wasn't even a Christian. That was Chris Hadfield. He is a Canadian astronaut and he has captained the International Space Station. In fact, you might remember him from the news as the guy who recorded a David Bowie song from outer space. But he was just answering a question on a radio program, and the question was, what would the psychological challenges of traveling to Mars be? And that was his answer. You've got to be different. You've got to see yourself differently. He said, actually, if that was going to happen, I would say to my crew, okay, you can't think of yourself as earthlings anymore. You're now Martians. Your identity has changed. You've got to change the way that you think fundamentally about yourself. Otherwise, as he said, there's no way you're going to stay psychologically healthy. And I like that because I think that is so biblical. In 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 11, Peter says, I implore you, brothers and sisters, as aliens and strangers in this world. So Peter's telling us, because we are born again of a new seed, of a new kind, we don't belong here anymore. We are living on this earth, but we are new creations. The old has passed, and everything that we do now is based on that identity, feeding that new nature. Now your nature produces certain desires, and your desires produce certain behavior because it comes from your nature. And my old nature produces all sorts of selfish desires, and that affects my conduct and my behavior. But if I start to feed my new nature that God has given me, that's when I'm going to start experiencing life. That's when I'm going to start experiencing a renewing of my mind. That's when I'm going to start experiencing what it is to live this upside down life that Jesus tells us to live, that makes us so different from those around us, where the way up is down, and he who humbles himself shall be exalted, when everybody else is telling you to step on everybody else's toes so that you can get to the top. And it's an upside down kingdom. The poor in spirit are blessed, the meek shall inherit the earth. Jesus is giving us a whole world in which we are to be completely different because our origin is different. We come from heaven. Our destination is heaven. Our nature is heavenly. And when you start to live out of that life, live out of that nature that God has given you, then you do start to see yourself fundamentally differently, and you start to change. So listen to the astronaut. He's got some good stuff to tell you. God bless you this morning.